Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News, and I'm your host, Ellie Holder, and we have William that's on the phone. Well, I'm pretty jived about tonight. I got a lot of great news. And William, welcome, and glad you are my co-host.
I guess so. All right.
All right, so I'm going to get this rolling because we've got a lot of great news tonight. Now, I'll start off with Russia warned the United States of risk of World War III. And uh, this came from the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov. And he attended a press conference with Yemeni Foreign Minister Shaya al Zindani. And the meeting in Moscow happened yesterday. And he, of course, wanted to hog the mic, and he said the West is playing fire over Ukraine. And Russia is clarifying its nuclear doctrine now. He says there's the dangers of World War III, and we don't believe the West over Kursk. So it's about Kursk when it was bombed. Now, Russia said the West was playing with fire by considering allowing Ukraine to strike deep into Russia with Western missiles, and cautioned the United States that World War III would not be confined just to Europe. Ukraine attacked Russia, Western Kursk region. That was August 6th. And Zelensky basically said, well, since they didn't do anything really harsh back to us, we just take all of this as a bluff. Well, they said no. Putin's foreign minister said the West is escalating this Ukraine war and asking for trouble by considering Ukraine request to loosen curbs on using foreign supplied weapons. So they said we are now confirming, and we're very serious once again, that the U.S. is playing with fire. And we will be looking into the clarifying its nuclear doctrine. So here goes the threats again. But then now get this. So as of after this was done, Ukraine's Zelensky decided he's going to present a plan to Biden to end the war with Russia. He says this Kyiv's excursion in Russia's Kursk region is part of the plan. Zelensky dismisses compromises with Putin. He says he's serious on this plan, and he thinks it's fair, and he believes that a war with Russia would eventually end in dialogue, and that Kyiv has to be a strong position, and he would present a plan to Joe Biden and two potential successors. So the main point of the plan is to force Russia to end the war. And he says he wants this very, very much now. So Zelensky is now saying he's ready. He just wants to end the war. And I know, William, you said Russia just needs to get out. Just get out of, and.
So Zelensky's in the past has said he's willing to talk as long as Russia is willing to just get out, which they're not going to do. They're going to protect Russian speakers in Donetsk and the other areas. So it sounds like Zelensky realizes now that Biden's two successors may not want to continue war and continue sending arms. And so he's thinking, well, maybe we better make a deal. Well, I think maybe you better make a deal, yeah.
Yeah. Now, and not just to mention, Russia threatening the United States, but now Iran's supreme leader, he wants to start negotiations with the United States. He said the State Department spokesman would be the one to talk to. He's to stop the escalation and cooperate with International Atomic Energy Agency. Without that, negotiations can continue. Now, the former Obama official who helped get the JCPOA signed that Kamala Harris said she would sign a similar agreement with Tehran if she wins the White House. Now, uh, the thing is you have to stop all the attacks on Israel, is what we're saying. Not her, but this is what Trump said. They got to. And they're going to have to redo the talks. And so if you have even what Obama put into place, Kamala Harris will sign the same agreement. This is the same agreement that um, Biden has signed. And Iran's deal, they liked what Barack Obama. And it has to do with this money. That's the whole thing is about the money. Now, this is where I really agree with the State Department dealing with the Iranians. I think it's a grandstand on part of the Iranians. Obviously, they're close to weaponization and grade uranium on their nuclear capability in terms of high enriched uranium. Okay. They blow off all the inspectors that keep track of the nuclear program. I don't know if you guys have known this. They're not letting they let the inspector see only what Iran wants them to see, and it keeps them from being able to get all sides. And if they dismantle, they also dismantled all the cameras on the sites. Um, so when we look at this, um, no matter what they do, and no matter we're taking the cameras down, not letting the inspectors in, not or only taking the inspectors where they want them, and the places the inspectors want to see, Iran says no. But you know what? Secretly, they have been having talks with Biden. It's a lot of secret talks lately. They're even having secret talks with China, but they're having secret talks, and I believe they're passing that money secretly over to Iran. There is rumors coming out of the New York Post, AP, um, even Fox News, Breitbart, all of them are saying that they are secretly still getting this money. It's just not mentioned by the mainstream media. Um, what's this mean? Well, it sounds like the JCPOA agreement, if it goes into the Harris presidency, it's going to stay the same, and we're going to keep giving them the money. If it goes under Trump, it's going to be re-evaluated and re-planned and more. I don't know. I think
it'll be renegotiated.
Yeah, thank you. Renegotiated. I'm too excited about tonight's show. I'm sorry, folks. So now, speaking of, boy, William, I'm just going and chattering tonight. Speaking of Kamala Harris, now she has been flip-flopping. Now she says, oh, well, now it's said by her aide that she wants to close the border. Now, I told you just a few days ago, Bernie Sanders wanted to do it because of the drugs. Now, the thing about it is this aide, if we flash back to this aide got in trouble for giving false information and misinformation on the pandemic, the vaccines, and other things that she was saying that she had to come back out and say, no, she didn't. She still has this aid. So, folks, I don't know. They will be, her and her VP choice is going to be on CNN tomorrow night. And I hope CNN is brave enough to ask that question. Is this true? We need to know facts. And we need to know facts from Trump too. Let's not let him off the hook, folks. We want to know what they're going to do in this next presidential term, of how they're going to fix the economy, how they're going to cut taxes, how they're going to make prices cheaper for us to be able to live, get our mortgage payments down. That's what's important. We got to feed our families. We can't go into a depression. We just can't. I don't think we can take another 4 years of this our system the way it is right now. Oh boy. All right. And to speaking now, I told you about um, this secret talks over in China. Now, who's over there? None other than Jake Sullivan. He's in China, and they say China and the U.S. are working to avoid conflict with this talk in Beijing. Now, see, that was something else that was brought up. So they are trying to cease this tension with China. But not only that, what they're doing is Jinping needs to have communications with Biden on policies that have been in place under the Biden administration to put them back in place. So William was saying this earlier. I'll let you yak, William. Um, put put the policies in place before he leaves office.
Well, they're trying to go back to the original Obama and policies with China to get rid of the tariffs and whatnot. And then, of course, if Trump comes in, he'll cease those. But China will have the ability at that point to say, yeah, but the last administration put them in place, and that'll just give them one more talking point against what they're not going to like probably coming up the next administration.
Yeah, well, see, they said also the goal of the visit is to try to fix communications that broke down in 2021. So see, see, the news don't tell you this, folks. You know, they always say, "Oh, everything's good with China." Everything. No, they're over there having these meetings, and one of the reasons is to nurse back what the communications have been broken down since 2021. So it's been a couple of years now, and it has because look, they're Jinping and China is working with Iran. They're working with Russia, North Korea, and all of a sudden they're just turning their backs on the United States. So
even North Korea right now has started firing missiles once again in solidarity with the Russian incursion.
Mm-hmm.
So there's things that firing missiles across the South China Sea or into the Southern Pacific is part of the contest between Ukraine and Russia now because North Korea is in solidarity with Russia.
And you know, William, Biden has had 2 private phone calls with Jinping over the last couple of weeks, and even one while he's been on vacation. How come we can't pull those phone calls and listen to them like they did Trump with Zelensky? I'd like to know what's being said now. I think every time we have our presidents have phone calls with people like Jinping or Putin, we need to hear what's being said. You know, they don't have to bring it out on the news, but they could at least put it in a file and a transcript, you know, with the State Department so you can go see. I'd like to see what's being said.
Everything is recorded, everything is transcribed. Now, whether they release it or not, different deal. They can still be subpoenaed for it.
Well, you know, all they have to do is go get their son's phone or get, you know, his son's phone and call Jinping, and it'll be a whole private different. See, that's what I'm saying, William. There's private phone calls that go on all the time, and there's nothing we could do to stop it, folks. And that happens all the way through our government. They make private phone calls and wheel and deal and make bad choices.
Well, they do lots of back channel communication because they can. You know, back in the 70s, there was no way to do back channel communications through AT&T.
Yeah.
Now that they've got the internet, there's always a possibility of back channel communications that nobody's going to hear here for another, 6 or 8 years because of encryption. Hillary used that just all that she possibly could.
Yeah. Okay, so, and speaking of, coming up on the election, this is something that is, I'm very surprised. 3 states now have removed over 857,000 names that belong to deceased voters. Now, Texas alone announced over 1 million eligible voters removed from the voting rolls since last presidential election. There's also these other states that have almost, they said, removed just as many. Now, some of them are the migrants, some of them are, a lot of them, like 800,000, are dead voters. Thank goodness. I've been, my son was used on after he passed away on, I believe it was the Obama election, and that made me mad because they notified me after the fact. That he had been, I guess verifying his vote, and it was in California, and we haven't lived there since '96. Boy, I tell you. So this is good news. This is really, really good news. And they said they're hoping that more states will follow suit and get the dead voters off their rolls. Alabama, Georgia, Illinois, New York, and California are the worst ones for dead voters. So, William, SpaceX. Oh, what?
10% of the electorate dies, or 5%. But anyway, there's a certain percentage that dies every 4 years, and they need to stay up on it.
Yeah. Well, I think if you register to vote, I think everyone, it ought to be, you just register to vote, and then you get your card, and then you vote. If you don't register to vote, you don't get to vote. I think that would cut all the dead people out anyway. I mean, Hillary, I don't know which, I think she used one of the biggest cemeteries ever for hers.
Well, in Florida, they just had primary voting and whatnot in the state, and a whole bunch of counties just went black, and the county, I guess, registrars for the voting said, well, the people we hired are having a problem. The problem is they're hiring people and they don't have any restrictions. They don't have any competency examinations. None of that happens. And so they're just doing whatever they will with the vote, playing games. The thing is the election people are voted into office. They're the ones that are responsible. They should be held to account. And if they can't account, they should be brought in. And the vote of that county should have to go through a second process with, a different registrar.
Now, SpaceX. Now I know SpaceX had is going to send a craft up to get the 2 astronauts, and it had issues this week. But now, William, you had more info on SpaceX.
So, both Boeing and SpaceX delivery systems to the ISS, and this includes both cargo and people, or just people. They're both contracted with NASA. So NASA decided that if they had 2 private companies compete with each other for the contracts to move freight and people to the ISS, that they would get a better system quicker, which is probably the case, because they've done it in a few years compared to 20 years. And so the SpaceX craft that's going up that was already scheduled. So they're not just going up to get the test pilots and rotate out some people from the ISS. This was just already scheduled. They're just going to have 2 more people. And these systems aren't designed for like 3 people during, remember the Apollo time when we went to the moon, where you'd only have 3 astronauts. These are very large delivery craft. They can take like 9 people or 6 people in cargo. You get the idea. And also, SpaceX already has one of their reentry vehicles on the space station that acts as a life raft, if you will. It could bring all 6 at the station right now back immediately. So, first of all, they're not marooned. Second of all, they have all the food they need, because the space station maintains a 4-month, 4-person supply of food, water, oxygen. You guys get the idea here. And they've got a regular scheduled craft going up in September, but it's just a cargo ship, all right? And so they're going to send up the additional, what is it that they need? A flight suit for the space liner from the X aircraft, and the Boeing is just going to come back down unmanned. Now, the Boeing craft could probably come back unmanned. They said it was because of the helium leak, and that's not really true. There's plenty of helium. That's what pushes out the gases that fire for their little rockets that they use to steer the aircraft. The problem that they had, and they're still having a problem with, is when the oxidized fuel goes through a valve on a re-entry burn that slows the craft down. Those rockets aren't continuous like they should be, because there's some Teflon that once that oxidizer gets on it has been swelling, and that's not typical. Mm-hmm. And they found that out when they did a test out at White Sands. So even though they could probably make it back without the burn, because that burn's not consistent all the way around, there's a number of those rockets, retro rockets, to slow them down. They might have a hard time controlling the vector of the aircraft. So out of an abundance of caution, they're going to stay up there. Now, both of these people that went up in the Boeing craft are test pilots. This was a test, all right? This wasn't a normal scheduled, well, it was normally scheduled, but it was a test of the Boeing craft. The other systems on the craft, they believe they'll be able to get it back safely, but out of abundance of caution, they're not going to. These are test pilots, but the test pilots are fully rated for the ISS, and they'll be doing just regular ISS work and all the science experiments and everything. They'll just get science done a little faster on the space station until February. So they'll get their extra suit. They're going to get additional supplies for them, and they're just going to come back on SpaceX rather than come back on the Boeing. Not because they don't think they can't do it, but because it's probably safer, and they don't want to have another accident like they did with the Challenger and whatnot. So out of an abundance of caution. Now, Boeing said that it was okay for a re-entry, but it was NASA that said, no, we're going to hold those test pilots at the ISS and wait for February, because they don't want to have a situation where safety is absolutely assured. they have other systems on it to control those rockets, but they wouldn't have two systems. So you want to have always want to have a backup. And so to ensure they have a backup, they're just going to come back on SpaceX.
Yeah. Okay. Dozens killed in terror attacks, allegedly targeting migrants and Chinese colonizations. Now, this is happening a lot over in Europe and even Cyprus, Italy. They're attacking the migrants. It's just too many, they say, and the crime rate. But now in Pakistan was a huge attack. Let me get to this. They said 14, the Pakistani military said 14 of its troops plus 21 militants were killed during the battle of this BLA targeted vehicles on highways. And they say basically there's groups of militants that aren't even part of the military that went through and killed dozens. And they said, but they're not the only ones. They said it's enough is enough. And they're finding spies with the Chinese, and they're finding a serious crime rate with the migrants. And they said Pakistan is accused of deliberately executing 23 civilians on the attack. And they said, but it basically they're blaming terrorist organization banned by Pakistan. And they said it's especially the BLA designated global terrorist in 2019. And the targets are the Chinese and the migrants. So now even Pakistan's having problems. So, but William, I didn't know Pakistan had issues with the migrants.
Everybody that transits Pakistan at one time or another has had problems. The United States, Russia, the English, it's been like that forever. Now, China, Pakistan, and India share a little piece of border. And China made a road that just went just north of the Indian border. Did I say Iran? It was India, Pakistan, and China. So China built a highway that came down into Pakistan, just missing India. And they're using the Khyber Pass, which is the same pass that we use to move our equipment in and out of Afghanistan. Afghanistan doesn't have any sea routes. You have to, if you're going to transit, you pretty much have to go through Pakistan up over the Khyber Pass that was originally built by the English. But for the Chinese to move the ores, remember they have that lithium mine that's just north of Kabul. To move their ores, they have to transit the Khyber Pass across, almost straight across Pakistan. Pakistan's a long, narrow nation. They have to transit the narrow part, probably 2/3 up Pakistan towards the north. And those ores have to, so they're dealing with miners, they're dealing with military people going in and out of Afghanistan. And these people, they're staying overnight, they're getting services, they're buying, purchasing things, and they're committing crimes. And the people are getting sick of it. And the other part is they don't look the same.
Yeah. And go ahead.
These people are xenophobic. They're not like the United States where everybody's welcome. If you look different.
Yeah. Well, but to say everyone's welcome, California taxpayers, oh my goodness, folks, beware, because the bill AB 1840 passed Assembly in a different form, and we'll head back there for approval. before going to Newsom. What it is California Democrats passed a bill in the Senate that would provide up to $150,000 in home loans for illegal aliens who are first-time home buyers to the state.
Oh my God, I might be illegal.
Yeah, I want. Well, see, it's a no down payment thing, but they said, California taxpayers are more than happy to have an increase and help pay for this, since we're so, like you said, we like them over here. Oh, oh boy. So onward. So beware, California. People try to vote that down. Get that out of there. It's Bill AB 1840. Now, Houthi bombed a Greek tanker spilling oil into the Red Sea. Here they go again. They're still going after the tanker ships full of oil.
So Iran has told Houthis to knock it off, to stop their piracy, if you will, and because Iran wants to have the JCPOA talks. Well, the Houthis have told them to fly a kite.
Yeah.
So, when the Eisenhower was there, they did 7 major bombing campaigns with the Air Force, by the way. It wasn't just the Navy. And information's come out through one of the, I guess you'd call them kind of Navy information people that have podcasts, that they could have done heavier strikes, but they were held back by whoever at the top of the government. They didn't know. They're just he was just the commander of the strike group. He just took his orders. He didn't ask, why, how much, when. But they were held back a bit by somebody above, way above the pay grade, you said. So it's probably, the White House or the National Security Agency or, whatnot. So the Houthis are doing what Houthis do.
Yeah. And, Houthis, well, Afghanistan, I was telling you about this one earlier, that they say it's under the ruling of the Taliban. They claimed to report on Monday the UN it was working on giving them loans for small businesses, but also farmers. They say, we're going to make sure the farmers get it, but they want to give it to small business men, not women, men, and possibly Taliban, and working for all the right reasons to make Afghanistan better. Oh boy, William, what is the UN doing now? Now that they're getting money from the UN. So,
well, the strikes by Hezbollah were launched within 500 feet of a United Nations compound. So, the UN has issues with rule keeping, if you will.
Yeah.
Doing exactly what they're supposed to do based on their charter. They have a problem with self-enforcement within their agencies. So, I can see small business loans. Afghanistan isn't a rich place.
Well, no. I guess everybody, I guess even terrorists need help.
Well, farmers, people need to be fed. And if you can get these countries to be more economically stable, they tend to be better partners in the world. So we've done that in Africa. I can see doing it there, but I can't see doing it through the United Nations.
I think they threw the farmers in there just to get the money, poor farmers, and I mean, what are they growing? Cocaine?
Well,
it wasn't it? Am I wrong? Wasn't most of I think it was cocaine came out of Afghanistan. A lot of drugs.
So it was heroin because they.
Oh, heroin. Okay.
Yeah. They, their farmers are farmers. They'll use whatever cash crop they get the most money for.
Yeah.
And if the World Bank or the IMF can help them produce food so that they don't have issues of starvation and grain, and buy things like threshers and tillers, plows, things you need for your farm. I'm okay with that. I just don't think the United Nations is the vehicle.
Yeah. Now moving over to North Korea. Now Kim Jong-un has upgraded his rocket launch system, and he says it's to provide superiority in strike concentration, and also his suicide drones. And what they're saying is North Korea needs to supply Russia with artillery shells, missiles, and other equipment. And they have in the last recent months. So now they got bigger. They got the bigger ones now going into effect. And they said from August 4th, North Korea shipped more than 12,000 containers to Russia, sending 3 or 4 kinds of shells of different sizes, including rockets, dozens of short-range missiles, and they're very proud of their upgraded systems and rockets and missiles.
So every time they fire a missile, they learn something new. You don't just fire a missile for the sake of just firing it. You do an experiment to see something about it, so that the next time, you make a better rocket. So that's going on. They're learning from launching those rockets out into the Southern Pacific. And Russia's flush with money right now, and having a hard time replenishing their stockpiles of artillery and whatnot.
And North Korea is so proud of this. I mean, the article goes on to say how proud that North Korea is finally being a part of not just Iran, but Russia and China, and to where they're able to sell these missiles and these rockets and military equipment, that now they feel like they're a part of being accepted finally.
Keep in mind,
I think it's a sister
North
doing it.
Korea has a huge arsenal, and they're aging, right? It's the same thing the United States has. It's at some point it's use it or lose it.
Yeah.
And so if they can ship that to Russia and Russia can use that before they completely expire, it's a win-win. And at the same time, North Korea isn't completely isolated from the world. They're not isolated from China. They are actually being able to be involved with countries outside of North Korea. It's just to the west rather than to the east.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just talking. When I say west of North Korea. I'm not saying east is towards the South China Sea. So that gives you an idea that they're able to have relations with people inland if they can't have relations with people, by ship.
Yeah. Now, I'm gonna move back to the United States. We got lots of stuff in the United States going on. Now, at the beginning of the Biden administration, It wasn't known until about a year ago that Venezuela, but not only Venezuela, but Colombia, was letting their prison gangs loose. And now in the Colorado, the city of Aurora, I hope I said that right, says that the town is totally taken over by the Venezuelan uh, prison gang Tren de Aragua. I think I said that right. And they said not only there, but they want to make a big warning that this isn't just in north of Denver, but they have taken over apartment complexes in Chicago, New York, Miami, and LA. And it's whole apartment complexes. And some of them that are in Chicago were even filled, these apartments were taken over low income by the gangs already. But when the Venezuelan prison gang came in, Williams said, boy, they just probably ran. These are serious folks. And the crime rate has increased in these areas. Crime rate meaning murders and killings. So now, William, you said you knew of Aurora.
I used to live in Aurora when I was at tech school. The tech school's no longer there. But it's a city that's nothing but 3- and 4-story apartment buildings. Okay, there's no individual homes in Aurora. It's a apartment city.
Yeah, see, that's what they were saying in this article, is that they were taking over apartment complexes and for the low income. So, and it's not just happening in Aurora.
So these are the apartments that are the most affordable in the Denver area. Aurora butts up against East Denver. And it's always been kind of, Aurora's a little bit lawless. It was when I was there, and so it's probably pretty easy for organized gangs out of Venezuela to push these.
They even took over the staff and the apartment managers. They just
yeah, they just tell them to get out or they're going to die.
Yeah. So there's a big warning, though, going out for these cities, Chicago, New York, Miami. They said big time in Miami, they're finding the Venezuelan ones, prison gangs. Now, these are prison gangs that were let out to come to our country. So it's not unusual that we're now starting to see the Democrat politicians saying, whoa, wait a minute, maybe we need to close the border. Bernie Sanders is over the fentanyl, and he said something like DACA, the DACA thing. But it's too late, William. It's too late. We not only have prison gangs, but we have terrorists that we fought in battle over in Iraq and Iran and Syria, like ISIS and a few others. So we let terrorists and gangs in here.
We're not going to be able to deal with these people until we close the border, because they're coming in faster than we can really get a handle on them.
Yeah.
And the republic is slow to act, okay? We're not like a democracy that acts overnight and is fickle and bounces back and forth. We're slow to act. So we actually need that barrier to give the governments time to act in a responsible way. So we're just going to be seeing this for a while. People just need to buckle up and realize this is the new reality.
Yeah.
Or at least the next little while.
Moving over to Michigan, Dearborn, I believe. The people are there and the voters are very upset because there is a plant that's coming in that makes EV batteries called Goshen. It's called One. And this is the plants that during beginning of the Biden administration was mentioned that they wanted to put plants that are uh, owned and operated by the Chinese into Michigan. Now, a lot of the voters disagreed. Now, the voters are starting to protest because it's actually been put in effect by the governor, Gretchen Whitmer. She announced this as of today. She says the plant will create 2,300 jobs in Big Rapids, Michigan. The facility, though, um, uh, they plan to create, they say, close to 5,000 jobs. Now, me and William, we know they're going to put Chinese workers in there because they have to train the few Americans from Michigan that will get these few jobs.
So the people from Michigan, they'll be the people like dock workers, trucking, restaurants that service the dock workers and the truckers. But the manufacturing is going to be done by communist Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have a compound there.
Yeah.
And,
now, get this, though. Get this, William. This is what got me because my jaw dropped when I heard this. Michigan will provide $715 million in financial incentives for Goshen. If this is China and China wants to put their plant here, they need to be paying for this, not us, not Michigan. No wonder they're pissed off.
That's money that should go for economic renewal in Michigan, not economic renewal
incentives. China incentives.
Part of China, but this is a problem Democrats have is they have a real serious problem with enemy identification.
And they say these plants may be going into 2 other states, one in California and one in, they're saying Illinois, a Democrat-run states. And how much will those states provide in incentives? See, we can't have this. We can't go another term with the way this country is moving. I'm not going to point, and I'm not going to say Biden, all that. No, it's all the Democrats because this is in the hands of Whitmer. She's the one that made the decision.
The activity that we decry, right?
Yeah. Because this is Governor Gretchen Whitmer that did this. This isn't the Biden administration. This is something that the governor made that decision on. Bad decision. And the Islamics are so happy. They say they get first choice of the jobs. So not only Chinese, but now they're going to let the Islamics and Muslims have first in line for these jobs.
That's the way the ball bounces.
Yep.
Right.
So, hey, DB, you got Angela saying hello. And hello to quite a few DBs in here. And Karen's going. Karen's just going. And Mary and a few others. And welcome over there on Facebook. Facebook, we get a lot of viewers. Now, Portland. See, I told you we're going to go to the States. Portland, folks, this has got to be the stupidest thing. Portland said they're going to crack down on the drugs and start arresting folks for either having drugs on them and using them out in the open, which they've been able to do, or being under the influence. So they said they're going to crack down hard. But, well, there's just a little clause in there. It's only going to be on weekends, folks, and at night. So Monday through Friday during the day, they can do all the drugs they want out in the open and under the influence and be zombies. But if it comes nighttime, they better go home and do their drugs. I don't know, this has got to be the stupidest law. You can do drugs during the day, but not at night.
Well, Portland's not exactly rational.
Oh boy. And have a good laugh on that one, folks. And I think we're down to one more. You were saying something about Arlington National Cemetery today with Trump, or yesterday?
Oh, so the other day Trump went to lay a wreath, and families of the fallen 13 during the Afghan withdrawal invited the president to come to Section 60, where their family members are buried. And you saw the lady in the wheelchair. That was one of the spouses or the children of the fallen. And so one of the work there. So there's a general rule that there can't be photography, and you can't use Arlington as a backdrop for, political campaigns. But that really wasn't what this was about. This was family members inviting former President Trump. And with former President Trump, there was a photographer, and this staffer at the cemetery really kind of lost their mind, and Trump's staff just kind of pushed them aside and kept going.
Well, and then, William, you mentioned that, and you said they were having meltdowns.
News because somebody wanted the former president of the United States to have a picture with them and their spouse who had fallen.
Yeah.
And, the world should just shut up about this. This is really not about political campaign for Trump. He did that at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Well, yeah, because it was a request. It wasn't like he just showed up and he's going to make himself seen. It was invited
by Gold Star family, and
this does happen a lot, William, because there's other presidents that have been invited to these kind of ceremonies. I know Bush did. I know Obama gets invited a lot, and so leave the presidents alone. If they're invited somewhere, folks, don't have a meltdown. If you go there, I mean, if you don't like them, you don't like them. Let our presidents be presidents, and let them be there for the folks that want them there, no matter who it is, Obama, Biden, Bush, or Trump.
It's really up to the Gold Star families to invite. If they invite them, it's a family thing.
Mm-hmm. So, well, William, that is it for tonight. And of course, Friday is trivia, but we'll have a little bit of news again before trivia. And so I want to thank everyone for watching, and do the thumbs up and do a little heart maybe. Lots of thumbs up. YouTube likes to see that. And the bell. Get the bell if you want to continue to be told when our shows will be on. And again, I want to thank those over in Facebook. Just wonderful people that are now watching our show. And please share it. Post it, put it on your page, and tell others to come. We're not like regular news shows. I don't really read from a script. I make mistakes and I mispronounce words, but this is news that's very important. It's true news. We get the best sources. I've got so many great sources, folks. So if you just watched us today, share us and thumbs up. And the bell. William, thank you so much for being a co-host with me.
Thanks for the opportunity, and I want to thank the viewers, because this is very important, not just to Ellie, but to myself as well. Thank you.
So, all right, folks, see you Friday for trivia. Great show. I felt like I wouldn't be able to. right, we'll let you go.